Okay,
This conference will now be recorded.
all right. So I started this recording, right? So I want to welcome you all to this introductory session on Cypress by Isha Training Solutions. So I'm Piyush Gupta, right? And today we are going to talk about Cypress. And before we dive in, let me share a bit about myself so that you can get to know me a little better. So I have total 19 years of experience in software industry, and I have led multiple automation projects across various domains. Currently, I'm working as a senior test automation architect. Right. So teaching is my passion, and I've trained many professionals in Selenium with Java, Cypress, as well as Playwright also. And I'm a very successful YouTuber, and I'm sharing knowledge and insights with a very wider audience. But let me take you back to where it all started. I began my journey as a manual tester, like majority of you guys, with no clear roadmap to automation. Unlike today, there were no structured trainings back then. There were no YouTube videos, and there were no mentors who could guide me. Right. So I had to learn the very hard way through trial and errors, late nights, and a lot of self doubt. I always wondered if I'm actually good enough for automation or should I just stay as a manual tester. I know exactly how it feels to be overwhelmed by automation, wondering where to start and how to progress. And that's why I'm here to make this journey easier for you guys. So I want to share my expertise in a very well structured, hands on way so that you don't have to struggle the way like I did earlier. So you'll be learning from someone who has been in your shoes, faced the same challenges, and found the way forward. So this won't be just another lecture style course because that is kind of very boring. So I'll try to keep it a lot of interactive, wherein I won't just teach, I'll also give you some assignments. I'll talk about real world scenarios, basically those scenarios that we actually face in our real day-to-day work actually, and practical exercises to ensure you truly understand and apply what you learn. Right. So my goal is to make you industry ready, and not just theoretically, but with real hands-on experience. Okay, so whether you're new to automation testing or transitioning from other tools, this session will give you a solid foundation in Cypress, and I'm going to show you why it's a game changer in modern web testing. Again, I'll stress on this word, modern web testing through Cypress. And I'm very excited to be a part of your journey, and I promise it's going to be a great experience. So let's get started. So in this demo session, we'll cover Cypress features and some JavaScript features as well. So before we start, if you have any questions, rather than just unmuting yourself, I would suggest there's a hand icon over here, right? So please raise your hand first, and then whenever possible, I'll try to answer your questions. And then of course, you guys are a part of that WhatsApp group as well. If you have any queries, please reach out to somebody like from Isha Training Solutions, whomsoever you are in touch with, right? And then let's get started. I'm starting my screen share and we'll talk about Cypress. So in this digital era, I don't need a whiteboard, but yes, I can have a digital whiteboard wherein I can teach you a lot better. So can somebody please confirm if you guys are able to see my screen? It is showing that it is sharing my screen, but still, I want somebody to confirm. Anyone can please confirm if you guys are able to see my screen?
Yes, we are able to see.
Perfect.
Visible, yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. Right. So, what is Cypress? The very fundamental question. Cypress is basically, okay, I'll write it for you. Yeah. What is Cypress? Cypress is basically a JavaScript based end to end testing framework designed specifically for modern web applications. Most important thing is modern web applications. Okay. Unlike traditional testing tools like Selenium, which you guys must have heard a lot, Cypress runs directly inside the browser. And one thing that really want you to stress upon is modern web applications. It means any kind of web application that is there in today's time, right? You can automate with Cypress without thinking whether this particular application can be automated with Cypress or not, right? So this unique architecture of Cypress provides faster execution. Why? Because unlike Selenium, Cypress runs directly inside your browser, and it provides a lot faster execution and better debugging capabilities compared to Selenium. You may be able to understand a couple of things. There will be few points that will you will not be able to understand, and that's perfectly normal. And yeah, one point that I would really like to make is learning is not linear. You will not be able to understand each and everything that I'm trying to teach you, but over a period of time, all the topics will get connected. So don't worry, right? So I'm going to talk about few key points of Cypress. The very first and most important point about Cypress is like it is very easy to set up and debug. So what do I mean by this? What I'm trying to say is Cypress is easy to set up and get started with. It requires minimal configuration and can be installed with a single command using npm or yarn. And in less than 5 minutes, anybody who doesn't have worked on automation testing at all, even that person can even start working with Cypress in less than 5 minutes actually. So it is so simple to set up. Okay. Second, one of the key features of Cypress is it is extremely fast. Now, Cypress runs in the same environment as your application, means it has direct access to the DOM. We'll talk about DOM in our future sections. So what I'm trying to say is Cypress has direct access to the DOM, JavaScript, network requests, and other browser features. And this eliminates the need for any intermediary layers or communication overhead, resulting in faster test execution. All you have to remember is Cypress is extremely fast, and there's no comparison between Cypress and Selenium when it comes to speed. And then we have something called as interactive test runner. This is something which is pretty cool with Cypress. So Cypress provides an interactive test runner that allows developers, when I say developers, it means automation developers. Okay. So it allows developers to view the application in real time as tests run. And this allows for easy debugging and inspection of application state during the test execution. Right. So I can quickly show you the test runner from here. Right. So let's say I have this. Right. So I'll open the test runner for you. So this is a project that I'm currently giving another Cypress training. So I'll open it, npx Cypress open. So this is the Cypress test runner. Okay, so right. So what we can do is I can simply start, right, and you can see what is going on. So each and every step is getting executed, and on the right hand side you'll see the application. This is a brilliant feature of Cypress, and debugging is super simple, right? Even though you don't have any automation background, but still you will be able to understand each and every Cypress command because it is damn simple, right? The reason why I'm so confident is because I've actually worked on it. Okay, so coming back to this part, okay, I'll keep it here. So this is about Cypress test runner. Okay, so next is time travel debugging, another cool feature of Cypress. You might be wondering how come I'm talking about such funny words like interactive test runner, time travel debugging, but they are very very important nowadays. So what do I mean by this time travel debugging? Cypress allows you to pause and inspect the state of your application at any point during your test execution. It means you can step through your commands and assertions. You can see what is going on in real time. You can see your DOM snapshots, and you can interact with the application UI to diagnose and fix issues through this Cypress test runner. See, at this particular stage, this is my live application, right? So application is on the right hand side, and all the Cypress commands. This is the code that I have written. In your case, you will be writing this code that you'll see here, right? And if you'll see, this is the time travel feature. I can give a very simple example. When you open this application for the very first time, this is how it looked like on the right hand side. Nothing is open, right? But as I'll bring my mouse, it clicked on this forms, then it clicked on this form layouts, and it clicked on this. See, it is so simple actually. So all you have to do is you don't even have to click. Simply just bring your mouse from here to here, and you'll see what is going on in the application. So this is not at all there with Selenium, but with Cypress, it is so easy actually. Okay, so this is called time travel debugging, which is a wonderful feature, right? And then I'll talk about something called as Mocha. So it has built-in Mocha and chai integration. This is not that tea that we drink in the morning. So this is something else. So what do I mean by Mocha and chai integration? So Cypress integrates seamlessly with Mocha and chai, and they are popular JavaScript testing frameworks. It allows developers, automation developers, to leverage familiar syntax and conventions for writing tests and assertions. In simple words, because this Mocha and chai are already integrated with Cypress, you don't have to look at any external library. You can simply use this built-in Mocha and chai integrations into your Cypress tests, which makes it super simple to write your tests. And then we have another wonderful feature in Cypress, again, that is not at all there in Selenium, which is automatic waiting. One of the biggest problems with Selenium is Selenium tests are a lot flaky, and we have to write so much extra lines of code. And somebody like me who was very scared of Java initially, I was like, I don't know if I can actually learn Java because somehow Java code looks very difficult to me, right? But when I came to Cypress, I saw that this I can use write a lot of code which is very simple compared to Java and Selenium. So when I say automatic waits, what does it mean? Cypress automatically waits for commands and assertions before moving on. Its default timeout for commands and assertion is 4 seconds. What do I mean by that? If let's say I'm trying to log into Gmail application, for example, I need to pass my ID, I need to pass my password, and then I need to click on the login button. But suppose, let's say page is taking little more time to load. In the case of Selenium, if there is no automatic wait, because we have to explicitly code waits in Selenium. But in the case of Cypress, there's automatic wait. So even if the application is not yet loaded, your script is not going to fail. It is going to wait automatically for a specific amount of time. And so basically it is going to give your application some good amount of time. And if the application is not loaded within that time, then it fails, which makes sense, of course. So in Cypress, the default time is 4 seconds actually. Okay, so Cypress will actually wait for 4 seconds for all the commands or assertions to complete before timing out and considering it as a failure. And then another important feature of Cypress is what? We can control the network traffic. And this is something brilliant in our API testing sessions. That is going to be, I think, maybe next month or so. Why? Because initially we'll be covering JavaScript, and then I'll move on to Cypress, and then into API testing, which is a very, very important feature. Therein I'll talk about how this network traffic actually works. And again, with Cypress, it is super simple. So we can easily control, stub, and test edge cases without involving your server. You can even stub network traffic however you like. For example, you have an API heavy application. Like in my current organization that I'm working for, the application that I'm working upon, it is heavily API dependent. So what we can do is we can wait for a particular API call to be completed before proceeding further. And we have something called as mocking. I can give you a very simple example. Let's say I've got 1000 articles in my application. It is let's say a note taking application, for example, right? And I want to test how the application will behave if we have just one article or maybe zero articles. How do we do it? Should I go and start manually deleting the articles, those 1000 articles? No, that will be silly, right? It will take me maybe hours actually to do this. But through Cypress, we can provide a dummy response to the browser, and browser will actually start behaving as if it has received just 3 articles from the server. It means we are actually mocking the response that is provided by the server, or injecting a fake response to Cypress, which is pretty cool. And you'll actually learn it, and it's going to be very simple. And then Cypress, one of the most important USP of Cypress is like Cypress claims that we provide consistent results. So it provides consistent and reliable tests that are flake free. So the entire automation industry has this issue that tests run today successfully, but tomorrow they fail. Or maybe they are running locally, but on CI/CD pipelines, they usually get failed. So what is the solution? Right. So Cypress says that our results are mostly consistent, and you will not see such kind of flakiness actually in our tests. So Cypress says our tests are flake free. Okay. And then we have something called as screenshots, videos, and test replay. Another cool feature. In the case of Selenium, you have to write so many lines of extra code to take screenshots. Again, you have to write so many lines of code to take videos and for test replay. But with Cypress, you don't have to write even a single line of code. It is so many things are automatically there, but you don't have to write a lot of code, right? In simple words. So Cypress automatically takes screenshots on failure or videos if they are enabled of your entire test suite when run from the command line. And you can record to Cypress Cloud. I'll talk about in one of my future classes. There's something called a Cypress Cloud, when you can collaborate with your teammates actually, right? Maybe you are in India, one of your teammates is in US, another was in Canada. How you can actually monitor and work on your test cases, right, through the Cypress Cloud. Okay, and then we have something called as cross-browser testing. I'll create one more line here. Yeah, another important feature. Okay, I'll write it. This is the point number 10. So it is called cross-browser testing. What do I mean by this? We can run tests within Firefox and Chrome family browsers, including Edge and Electron locally. Right. I'm talking about this Electron browser, and I'll explain you what this Electron browser is. For now, just understand that Cypress supports Electron. Okay. And then we have something called as parallel execution. What do I mean by parallel execution? It means it is possible to run the Cypress scripts not sequentially but in parallel so that they can run faster. And it is possible in Cypress Cloud. In one of my future classes, I'm going to teach what is the Cypress Cloud, because all the companies, what I have seen, 90% of the companies who are working with Cypress, they are actually having a paid license of Cypress Cloud, and it is actually a paid service. Now, while Cypress is an excellent tool, it does have some limitations. I'll be very open and honest. Nothing is perfect actually. Just like Selenium is not perfect, even Cypress is also not perfect. So Cypress also had some couple of limitations. So if you are going to work with Cypress, you should know what are its limitations and how you can work around those limitations. So what are the limitations of Cypress? So the most important limitation of Cypress is single browser support. So at this moment, Cypress supports only Chromium-based browsers and Firefox. What do I mean by Chromium-based browsers? Chromium is the engine that is provided by Chrome. So any browser that is built on this Chromium engine, for example, Microsoft Edge is also built on this Chromium engine, right? So Cypress supports only those browsers that are based on Chromium-based engine. And a major limitation of Cypress is like no multi-tabs. For example, if you look at this, I have opened a couple of tabs. You will not see Chrome on my machine because somehow I like this Arc browser. It doesn't, take a lot of memory unlike Chrome. So these are some couple of tabs that are open. So in my case, in the case of Cypress, if we have opened multiple tabs, Cypress cannot move beyond the first tab actually. So this is a kind of limitation, but there are workarounds how we can overcome this tab limitation of Cypress. And then third limitation of Cypress is only front-end testing. So Cypress is not at all designed for non-browser environments, for example, mobile apps. So these are some couple of limitations with Cypress and that you should be aware of, right? But I think the positive points are far greater than these limitations actually. So that is why so many people are still working with Cypress. Okay, right. Now, before I talk about more features actually and how to install Cypress, I'll show you something which is very interesting, which is npmtrends.com website. Right. So here this npmtrades.com website, we can compare package download counts over time. So what I can do is I can open Cypress. So if you see, I'll simply type Cypress and select this one. So if you see, in last 1 year, how many people have actually downloaded Cypress? So on any particular date, how many people are actually working on Cypress? So you will amazed to see that. See how many downloads it has as of April 6th, almost 6 million downloads, which is huge. And this big dip that you see, it is mostly on the Christmas time where all the people are on holidays actually. So forget this dip. And if you see, almost 5 lakh to 6 lakh. So Cypress is growing big time actually. Okay, so if you see, all the time. So this is how the Cypress graphs is actually worked. So it is actually growing, as we can see from this graph, right? Now we'll talk about how do we set up Cypress. So setting up Cypress is incredibly simple. Let me walk you through the steps. Again, I'll go back to the whiteboard, and I feel teaching on whiteboard is a lot simpler and a lot fun experience. Somehow I really like teaching this way. Okay, so I'll write this. Yeah. So how do we set up Cypress? This is something that is super simple, and I'll show you each and everything live. Now, setting up Cypress is incredibly simple. What we have to do is we have to simply follow a couple of steps. The very first thing that we actually need is we need something called as Node.js. I'm sure some of you might have heard about this Node.js. Right now, what is Node.js? Right, I'll talk about Node.js. So basically, in simple terms, Node.js is like an execution environment wherein you can execute a JavaScript. If you want to, okay, before I talk about this, now Cypress is actually built on JavaScript. So if you really want to work with Cypress, then you need to have JavaScript installed on your machine. What do I mean by JavaScript? For JavaScript, I need to have this Node.js environment on my machine. In simple terms, if I want to work with Java, I need JRE, which is called as Java Runtime Environment. But if I want to work with Cypress and JavaScript, I need to have this Node.js environment. Without having this Node.js environment, I'll not be able to work with Cypress. So this is a very important point that you all should understand. Okay, so Cypress requires Node.js. If you haven't installed it yet, right, so you can download and install it from the official website. Okay, so always whenever you want to download something, always do it from the official website, right? And then the second thing that you want to install is install Git software. So this is something that is extremely important. And surprisingly, I see a lot of people working with Git even while they're working on a project, but they don't understand basic Git commands like push, pull. Why do they do Git commit? They don't know. They simply say, I just know I need to write this Git status, Git commit, Git pull. But why do I use it? I don't know. So this is something that is not really done actually. So as an automation developer, we should have a very good solid knowledge of Git also, right? So you need to install Git. This is not mandatory, but this is something that is good to have. And then we need to have something called as IDE. For example, VS Code. Now, what do I mean by IDE? Right, I want to write my Cypress code somewhere. Where do I write it? Should I write in Notepad? Should I write maybe in this note-taking app which is provided by Mac? I have a Mac machine, so I'll be giving examples from Mac. But doesn't matter whether you're on a Windows machine or a Mac machine, the experience is going to be exactly the same, right? So where should I write my code? So VS Code is something that is a very popular coding platform actually provided by Microsoft, right? And that is what we'll be requiring, right? In my case, I've already installed Visual Studio Code, and this is how it looks like. It is completely free, backed by Microsoft, and 95% professionals who are working with JavaScript go with this VS Code completely, right? We don't need any paid application. Why? Because this is very powerful and very lightweight. Okay, so this is about VS Code. Now, in my case, what I need to do is I'll simply open terminal. So how do I open any application on Mac? It is a wonderful experience again. Simply press command and space if you have a Mac, right? And we can open any application from here. This is called a Spotlight. All I have to do is, if I want to open the terminal, in Windows, it is called as command prompt. In Mac, it is terminal, right? So I'll clear it. Okay, right. What I want to do is I want to check if Node is already installed on my machine or not. In your case, you can simply open command prompt, right? Simply type command and R and then press CMD and hit enter. And on this particular screen that will show up, you simply type node space -v. What I'm trying to do is I'm checking or asking my machine, do I have Node software installed on my machine? If yes, provide me its version. And I simply hit enter. So it clearly tells me, my computer is telling me that I have this Node version 20.14.0 on my machine. Okay, that's it. And then what I want to do is I can also check if npm is there on my machine. npm-v stands for npm version. So I have this npm version also. Now you'll not be able to understand initially at this point what is Node, what is npm. For now, just understand that Node is the environment that you need for sure, and with Node, npm comes automatically. So npm is basically required to install any JavaScript package. For example, Cypress, maybe Playwright, or any JavaScript package. For that, you need npm. You don't need Node for that. Node is like a superset, and rest everything you do with npm. And then I can also check if I already have Git installed on my machine or not. For that, I can simply type git space --, version, and I'll simply hit enter. So it is telling me that I have these Git already installed on my machine. And Git also needs some initial configuration like setting our email and name. Some of you who are already using Git, right? I'm not sure if you've ever used this command, but this is something that you can actually try it out on your machine. It is a very harmless command. It doesn't do anything wrong. So it simply gives you an information. You can simply type git config user.name, and if you simply hit enter, this tells me my username because this is the name that I've already configured for Git. In your case, you need to do this. Otherwise, you'll be able to work in your office company, but unfortunately, you'll not be able to run any Git commands. So this is a mandatory prerequisite for Git. And then there's one more command, which is git config user.email. In my case, this is my email that I've configured with Git. And again, this is again a mandatory step. So user.name and user.email, these are the two mandatory steps in order to use with Git. Okay. So I hope this particular part is now clear, right? And then we'll talk about installing Cypress now. This is where I'm going to show you live how do we install Cypress, and it is a very simple step again, right? So how do we install Cypress? It is very simple. All we have to do is maybe create a blank folder somewhere on your laptop. In my case, I already have created a blank folder, which is test project 1 inside my home directory, which is my name, which is Piyush Gupta. So if you see, nothing is there. So how do I go back? Command and up arrow key on Mac. Okay, so I'm back to this folder, which is completely empty. And then what I need to do is I'll have to open this particular folder right inside my VS Code. How do I do that? Simply go to my VS Code and I can type file, open folder, and I can navigate to this path where this folder is there. Okay, so in this case, where it is inside Piyush Gupta, it is something called as test project 1, and I'll simply click on open. And if you see, this project, this folder is now opened in VS Code, but currently it is empty. That is why this arrow is pointing down and nothing is shown here. So it is a blank project. It is not even a node project actually, right? There's one more way how you can open any folder in VS Code, and this is something that you'll be requiring all the time, especially when you're working in your real-time office projects. Okay, right. So what I need to do is I'll simply do this. We can remove this folder and then we can simply drag and drop. That is also very simple. All you have to do is simply drag and drop. I've already opened this particular folder, right? So in your case, what you have to do is simply go to file, close folder, and this folder is closed. And I go to my finder and I'll do this. I don't have a mouse, so somehow I'm not able to drag and drop, but it is very simple. All you have to do is simply drag and drop and it should work. Oh, now it is working. See, it has opened it. So there are two ways. One is file, open folder, and the second is simply drag and drop. So that is totally your call. How do you want to go? Okay, next, I'll simply press command and plus sign so that the font size is bigger. So it is very simple again. Command and plus will increase the font size and command and minus will decrease the font size. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to install Cypress now. For that, I have to open the terminal. Now, how do I open the terminal? Again, it is very simple. Simply click on this terminal and new terminal. So VS Code comes with its own terminal. I don't have to go to the outside terminal. I can still write all my commands here actually to install Cypress. But why do I do it from outside when we have a terminal right within VS Code, right? So VS Code has its own inbuilt terminal, right, which is pretty simple to use. Okay, so if you see here, this is my terminal, and I can close this terminal by clicking on this kill button, and then there's even a simpler way of opening terminal. So these are two steps, terminal and new terminal, right? But here, if I simply click on this button, it automatically has opened terminal. So this is completely your call. I simply like to click on this button to open the terminal for me. Right now, how do I install Cypress? For that, I have to run a command called npm install cypress --save -dev. But before that, I need to do something which is extremely important. I need to initialize this project as a node project first. So for that, there is a command which is called as npm init-y. Okay, so what I'm telling, I'm simply saying in make this project, which is an empty folder, into a node specific project. And if I simply hit enter, you see this, there's a file called as package.json. This is the heart of any node.js project. Whether you work with Cypress or not, if you're working on any JavaScript based project, you will see this file, which is package.json. So it has got some very basic entries, like the name is the same name that I've already given for my project. It has a number, it has a version basically, and all the versions will start from 1.0.0. So this is the entry point of for this particular project, which is index.js. At this moment, we don't have it, so don't worry. Scripts is something we'll discuss in detail in one of our later classes, right? So I can pass my name as the author, right? So license description. So it is a very basic file that simply describes what your project is all about. That is it about package.json, right? Now you have initialized this project as a node project. Now what we can do is, now is the right time that we should install Cypress. How do I install Cypress? It is very simple. I'll simply type npm space install space Cypress. And then I can also write --save -dev. Okay, there's a spelling mistake that I've done. Okay, so I'll simply hit enter. And if you see, I've started to install Cypress, and you'll see some more folder structure here. Okay, so whenever we install any JavaScript project, any JavaScript package. So I was showing you. So I can see there are so many JavaScript packages from here, right? So Cypress is one such package. There are other packages like Playwright and Express and so many other packages. Whenever I want to install any package, right, I have to run this command npm space install space package name. In this case, I want to install Cypress as my package or dependency. That is why I have to write this. So this entire command is the same. The only difference is this part changes. That's it. So npm install means I'm instructing VS Code to install the package, which is Cypress, and save it as a dev dependency. That is why I've written save -dev. And if you see, we see this particular section. Previously, it was not there. Right now, it is clearly telling me, okay, I've installed this Cypress, and it has installed this specific version of Cypress, which is 14.3.2. And what does this mean? 14 is like a major version. If there is a major change in Cypress, right, then they'll come up with a version called 15 or 16. But if there's a small change in Cypress, right, maybe some few bug fixes here and there, then they may come up with a smaller version, which is like 14.4 or 14.5 and so on. If there's a very, very small change, minute change or tiny change, right, very cosmetic change, then they come up with this patch version. So this is the major version, this is the minor version, and then we have something called as patch version. So if you, this is something that you see not just with Cypress but for all the projects basically. So this is how we read it. Okay, and then after we install Cypress, we see this folder called as node modules. And if you see, there are so many folders here. But how come all these folders are here? I just installed Cypress. So what really happened was, in the case of Cypress, these are some transitive dependencies. It means Cypress is requiring these dependencies automatically. We don't have to worry about bringing all of these packages, right? But Cypress internally uses these packages or dependencies. So it automatically gets them for you. So you don't have to worry about all of them, but I'm just showing you that inside node modules folder, you see all the packages that you have. And then we have something called as package.json. This is a file that you can completely ignore for now. Okay, so this is how we can install Cypress, and it is very simple, as I've just shown you. Right now, when I say I'm installing Cypress, does it mean that I'm installing Cypress like a software, like how I have so many folders? For example, I have something called as messages, FaceTime, and all these things. Right, so if I'll come here, right, I've installed a couple of these things. For example, I have this VLC, I have this WhatsApp on my phone. So this is actually a software that I've installed. But in this case, am I installing Cypress as a software? No. When I'm doing this npm install Cypress, it means I'm not installing it like a traditional software that you do system wide. Instead, it gets installed in this particular folder called node modules inside this test project folder. Okay, this is what it means. Right, so Cypress is actually installed inside the node modules folder of your project, not globally on your system. And it is managed by node.js and npm, which means you can control its version per project. Okay, and you don't get a system wide Cypress executable like you do with apps installed via exe, or maybe in Mac we have something called as dmg files. Okay, so if you need Cypress available globally, you can install it globally, but for now I've installed it locally inside this particular folder structure. This is what I mean by install. Okay, now once I've installed Cypress, how do I open it? It is very simple. I'll simply have to type npx space Cypress space open. That's it. It is a very simple command that is going to open Cypress, but I already have this Cypress test runner open from a different folder. Let me just quit it. Okay, so I've quit it. Now I'll simply hit enter. So this is the very first screen of Cypress. So it says welcome to Cypress, right? And if you see here, right, so it is saying DevTools listening on this. So it means this terminal is now open. And somehow if I'll close this terminal by pressing Control C, my Cypress is going to get terminated. So I'll simply do Control and C. Okay. Right. So this is about Cypress and its small features, right, that we just talked about. So to summarize, Cypress is a very powerful and modern testing framework that simplifies end-to-end testing for web applications. It has a unique architecture. It is so easy to use, and its developer-friendly features make it a favorite among QA engineers and developers alike. For me, after shifting from Selenium to Cypress, this is completely my personal opinion, but it's a great experience working and coding in Cypress. I just love it somehow. Hopefully, you guys will feel the same once you also start working with Cypress. And it is very, very simple. Right. So after this entire all these sessions are over, right, once you complete this entire course, you'll also start feeling that Cypress is super simple. The only thing that I require from your side is just a little bit of dedication and practice. Okay, so let us switch to JavaScript now. So we just talked about the basics of Cypress. Now we'll also cover JavaScript in detail in this particular course, right? So let me switch to JavaScript. Okay, so if we talk about JavaScript, firstly I show you something pretty interesting. Even though I may or may not have Node.js environment on my particular machine, but I can still execute any JavaScript command inside my browser. In this case, it is Arc browser. In your case, on majority of you might be on Windows, I guess. In that case, you can open your Chrome or whatever browser you're using, and you can type any JavaScript command, even though you don't have any Node.js environment on your machine. I can show you. Simply type 2 plus 2, and I get this output as 4.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Somebody is asking a question. Yes, please.
Yeah.
It is Shiba.
To install the package, you did npm install npm init -y. It is.
Okay, so no, not this is not for that actually. So this is something in your case, if you're already working in your office project, so this is something that is already done. I'm showing you if you're doing it from scratch, then only you need to do
Oh,
this npm init-y because
okay.
we are learning from
And
scratch. In your office
okay.
project, you already have this packet.json file. You'll not be required to do in your office work.
Uh,
But suppose if you
and
don't have Cypress, then you need to install Cypress using npm install Cypress, right?
okay.
Yes.
So you said any modern web application, right? So
Yes.
what does it mean? It means like any application built on the web application, or like it can cover like Salesforce application or SAP application.
Shiba, your
Or,
voice is not very clear. It is kind of breaking. I'm not sure if I'm able to hear you properly, but I think I'm hearing that you are asking that if Cypress can work on any application. So the answer is
yes.
yes. Cypress supports any modern application. As I was
So
mentioning
any
in, yeah,
also we can.
sorry, your voice is not very clear. I'm barely able to hear you. Not sure if you
And
have some issues with your
Salesforce
mic or something.
Salesforce
Okay.
application.
Yes, it supports any application. As long as your application is there on the web, it should be able to automate it. It's as simple as that. Okay. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I'll move on. And I was saying that we can execute. Okay. If somebody is not muted, can you please mute yourself? Just a sec. Yeah. Okay. So, it looks like everybody is now muted. Right. So, yeah, I'll talk about this JavaScript execution. Right. So I was saying that even though you may or may not have Node.js, but still right inside the browser, you can execute any JavaScript code. Why? Because your browser automatically has its own inbuilt engine that supports JavaScript. It doesn't require Node.js. But if you want to run JavaScript outside your browser, for example, you want to run your JavaScript inside VS Code, then you need Node.js. So this is something that you should have definitely. Okay. So this is about Node.js. Right. Now we'll talk about some primitive types in JavaScript. This is something that is extremely important. So Cypress is something that you learn, but side by side, you also need to have very solid command over JavaScript. Right.
Can
And
we do can we do API testing also using Cypress?
yes, Seema, we can definitely do API testing with Cypress, and it is so simple actually. Right, in my previous batch that just got over, I think 2 weeks back. Right, we just covered Cypress API testing, and this time I'm going to cover API testing in depth actually, wherein you'll learn so many different things about how do we actually do API testing with Cypress, and it is super simple, unlike Selenium.
Okay. Also, we can do some kind of database testing also using Cypress.
You can do that
Database
actually.
integration.
Yeah, you can do that. Of course, you can find SQL queries. There are so many things you can do with Cypress actually. So Cypress, just like JavaScript, it is like an ocean. Now, if you really want to understand what exactly we are going to cover in this particular course, right, what I would request somebody from Isha, I think maybe somebody from Isha is there, they can share that course content with you. You can go through that course content. It is a very detailed course. Previously we didn't cover so many different things, but especially from this batch onwards, we are covering so many topics, and that too in a lot of detail actually. You'll not find this much of depth maybe in any YouTube tutorial or even in Udemy courses also. Right. So that is why this class is there, wherein you'll get in-depth guidance. Okay.
Okay.
So
And one more
yeah,
question.
sure.
I have shared my project frame design also.
Hmm.
Like my project on which my company is working, it's using the Cypress,
Hmm.
and they are also having some different tools.
Okay.
Like they are using the Bitbucket, Jenkins, Allure,
Hmm. Right.
and npm, but you are discussed
Okay.
just
Okay.
a minute
Right.
before.
I
So
guess
do
your
we
question
cover
is, are
all
we
these
going to
tools?
cover all of them? I guess
Yes,
this is
yes,
our question. Right.
yes,
See, when you say Bitbucket, that is completely separate from Cypress. That is completely different topic altogether. Right. So
okay,
we'll not be covering this Bitbucket, but yes, this is very, very simple. And if you have any doubts, you can always feel free to ask me in that way in person. You all have my WhatsApp number anyway, right? Feel free to WhatsApp me. Right. You can ping me. You can ask me your doubts, your questions, not just before, but even during the course and even after the course also. Right.
okay.
Yes. So I always encourage people to ask me questions, and I never judge people. Right. Because I was exactly like you. When I got started, there were so many technologies, and I was like, how can I learn so many of them? But don't
And
worry. Yeah.
How much coding experience we required for this, as I don't have any coding experience. Like,
Then Seema, you are exactly like me, because when I got started with the automation, right, I didn't even knew the spelling of automation. Okay, right. So how I got from manual testing to automation testing, by simply I started stealing my co-workers work. I just told my lead I want to learn automation testing. I started maybe searching on Google or maybe YouTube back then, because back then there was no such kind of courses, all of these things, right? Back then it was a very hard job to learn, right? So this is how I actually learned in a very hard way. So in my case, what I'm actually doing in your case is, like, I want to make it such a simple experience for you, so that you can learn in a very well structured manner, so that you don't have to go through that same pain and same struggle that I went through. That is the reason
okay,
why you guys should actually go for this particular course. So I guess somebody is raising his hand, I guess Ganesh. Yes, Ganesh, if you have a question.
Yeah, Smith. Actually, are you sharing the curriculum of this course by any chance?
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. We do have a full-fledged curriculum that I have designed. In fact, I've previously in my previous batch I have designed it, but now completely updated it. If you guys want, what I'll do is, after this class, I'll share that updated curriculum right in that WhatsApp group. I'm pretty sure you all must be in that WhatsApp group, right? So I'll be sharing that course curriculum with you. You can go through it, and you'll actually get a very crystal clear idea what exactly I'm going to cover, because I'm not going to deviate from that course curriculum. Okay. Any other questions,
Will
Ganesh?
you do like Jenkins, right, for CI/CD pipeline, or we are
Yes,
going with
I'll be talking about Jenkins. I'll be talking about CI/CD pipelines, and
okay.
trust me, a lot of people have a lot of fear, especially when it comes to CI/CD pipelines and all. Right, but I'm going to make it very, very simple for you. Even though you may or may not have any automation background, right? Don't worry. I'll be making it very, very simple for you, so that anybody who doesn't even have any automation background, they also can understand Jenkins and Cypress and everything. Okay?
I just want to ask one question.
Yes, Gaurav.
Yeah, how much days it will be taking for coding and how much days it will be taking for Cypress?
Okay, so we are actually in initial classes, right?
Hmm.
We'll be covering. We'll be starting with JavaScript first, right? Why?
Okay.
Because JavaScript is basically the prerequisite behind Cypress. If you really want to
Yeah.
code, you need to have some good knowledge about JavaScript.
Right.
That is why I specifically told Isha Institute that we'll be covering with JavaScript basics first. Right. I'll try to teach you all those JavaScript concepts that are specifically for automation. Because if you look specifically into JavaScript, it is an ocean in itself. It might take me a year if I just want to cover in depth about JavaScript. Sorry, but it might take even a year actually. That JavaScript
No,
is huge,
no.
just like Java.
Regarding this course I'm talking about, for
Yeah, that's
example,
what I'm
we are
saying. Yeah, from the point of course only, that is what I'm saying. Initially, I'll be covering JavaScript, and then once JavaScript topics are over, then I'll start with Cypress. But in this entire course, this might take
Mhm.
anywhere between 1.5 to 2 months approximately. Could be
Okay,
little
max
less,
to max two.
yes. Could be little less, could be little more, depending on how the training goes. Okay?
Both you are talking about or only
Yes. No,
JavaScript you are
no,
talking?
both are talking about both JavaScript
Okay,
as well as Cypress.
okay.
Okay?
And
I want to make it.
BDD Cucumber?
Yes, BDD Cucumber is something that we'll be covering, because this is something that is very, very common and we all should use it.
Just,
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
so,
Okay.
like, is it some
Yes,
people
Shiva.
ask JavaScript or TypeScript, right? Like, which one is the best way to go? Like, I don't know why they ask. Uh,
Sorry, Shiva, again, your voice is kind of breaking, but I just heard you are saying something about JavaScript and TypeScript. That is all I heard actually.
we are doing Cypress with
Okay.
JavaScript, right?
Yeah, we are
So,
doing Cypress with JavaScript. But if you learn JavaScript, then 99% of actually TypeScript is something you have already learned. Why? Because TypeScript is not really a language. It is just a wrapper around JavaScript. So if you really want to learn TypeScript also, firstly learn JavaScript, because that is the you can say foundation of TypeScript.
okay,
Okay, and
okay.
TypeScript is also that is very, very simple to learn. Don't worry. Even if you can learn in Cypress with JavaScript, you can easily switch from JavaScript to TypeScript.
Uh, just one last question.
Yeah.
Like, what is the difference like with the Playwright and the Cypress? Like, why we need to go with Cypress than
Oh my
with
God, that's a
Playwright?
very difficult question you've asked me. So you are asking me a very simple question, but in order to answer it, I'll have to take at least half an hour. in order to explain you. Why? Because Cypress and Playwright are completely different automation tools actually. Playwright is also very much advanced like Cypress, and it is also growing big time. Okay,
Okay.
so a lot of companies
Both
are, yeah,
using
a
it.
lot of companies are focusing on Cypress as well as Playwright. It is like you will see BMW car also, and you will also see Mercedes car also. But it's
But
not like,
before,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt,
oh,
before JP Morgan has decided to go with Cypress, now they are like reschedule it and they are going with Playwright.
yeah, because that is a complete, you can say complete company to company choice actually. In my current
Yeah.
organization that I'm working for, I'm actually working a remote. My office job is completely work from home. I'm also working for an MNC. I'll not share the name, right? But
Sure, sure.
in my current company also, they are actually going with the Cypress. Only those things they go with Playwright, wherein Cypress doesn't support.
No,
So in my
yeah,
case,
but
they are
I asked,
completely going with Cypress.
yeah, because like for here I'm in US, not many people like are asking playwright, but they ask both Cypress and playwright. I don't know why. Like, they
See, nowadays they
just
are looking for NASA, people like who can actually work with NASA actually. They should know each and everything. That is how the demand is. So that is
yeah, that's
what I would recommend people like who are specially starting from manual testing. I would recommend people to start with JavaScript, Cypress.
okay.
So you will also will be able to help us with the real time project, right?
Exactly, Gaurav. I'll be sharing a
uh,
live application with you that you can actually run it and host it right on your machine. And this
mhm.
application is going to be very simple, but at the same time, it has some very, very important features. Okay. And it has got those features that you'll see in any modern application so that you can practice it. And you'll not even require internet to work on this application. This is that application that I was talking about. So this is a locally hosted application. If you see, this is local host. It is not
Mhm.
running on internet. It is a very
Yes, yes.
powerful application. And I can show you like how do we actually automate anything actually.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. Also,
And
yeah.
one more thing, sorry, like I won't be available to join on Monday days, so
Okay.
I will be getting the recordings, right?
Yes, absolutely. In case if you guys are wondering whether you'll get the recordings or not, you will get all those recordings. And I understand majority of you, not majority, almost everyone is an IT professional, right? And I know I'm an IT professional myself. So sometimes the work is very demanding. Sometimes we have to work even 12 to 15 hours a day. So I
Yeah.
understand sometimes life will come in the way and you'll not be able to join in all the classes. But that's okay. How does it matter? That is what the beauty of this recording is. I'm recording this class anyway, right? If somebody like who has to go maybe somewhere in between, that is okay. Why? Because you will get this recording. You can listen to it. Currently, you will not be able to pause me. In the case of recording, you can actually shut me down. Okay. Right.
Okay,
Therein,
okay.
you'll have an option to stop me. See, I try to keep my class in a very fun, friendly manner. I don't want to keep it like a boring classroom type lecture, right? Because I know
Yeah,
this is how people really enjoy. And I want to make it a fun experience. Office work is very boring anyway, right? So after the office hours, I really want to make it a fun experience for you guys. So, right, you should actually enjoy learning Cypress.
yeah, sure, thanks.
I actually
So
wanted to
Ashmit,
cover,
one more
yeah.
question actually.
Please don't call me Ashmit. My name is Piyush Gupta. This Ashmit Batula is just a dummy name. Call
oh,
me
sorry,
Piyush.
Piyush.
No, no,
Yeah,
that's
no
okay.
worries.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Ganesh.
So one more question is like, does Cypress support mobile testing, something like
No, that
mobile
is what
testing or
no, that is what I
machine?
clearly mentioned here. It is a limitation with Cypress. See, it does not support mobile apps. But of course, you can actually. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, I'll show you something. So if I'll open Cypress, okay, I'll just a sec. NPS opens. So I'm opening Cypress. Okay, I'll not do it right now. Okay, what I'll do is, so when you open this test runner, right, on the right hand side, I was showing you, we have this application, right? So in this particular application, you have something called as your viewport. So what do I mean by viewport? You can actually change this browser. For example, if you see this browser that I'm having, it is a full screen browser. So in the case of Cypress, I can shrink my browser so that it can support mobile dimensions. That is all I can do. But if you're saying specifically about mobile testing, that is something that Cypress doesn't support. I hope that answers that question. So Cypress is powerful, very
I got
powerful, but it has got its own limitations also. But we can still work around those limitations, and still we can actually do a lot of things with Cypress.
Hello. So hi, I have a question. So,
Yes,
uh,
Ramya.
yeah, regarding the Docker container. So, do we do a pipeline? Do we create a pipeline? Will that also be covered as part of this session?
See, Docker is something that is completely different topic altogether. I'm not going to be covering Docker as such, but I'll be covering about pipelines, and I'll be covering about how CI/CD works along with Jenkins. I'll be demonstrating to you live how we can install Jenkins on our local machine, and how we can create simple basic jobs, and how we can actually schedule them, and how we can actually run them in CI/CD pipelines. So everything would be covered. I guess majority of your questions are coming from the Cypress topic. Okay, I'll do this. So if you simply open this Isha Training Solutions in, right, and okay, this is the Isha website. Simply type Cypress here. Okay, and then just a sec. Where is my name? Yeah, this one, Cypress with JavaScript, the bottom one. Ignore the previous ones. So this is the latest course curriculum actually. So I guess a lot of you are having a lot of doubts, right? So what I would suggest is like, come here, and then you see what exactly I'm going to teach. Section 1, JavaScript basics. This is what I'm going to teach you. And here, this is JavaScript intermediate, very, very important stuff. And then we have something called a JavaScript advanced. Because if you don't know about JavaScript, how you going to code in Cypress? Not possible. Right. So JavaScript is something that you should have very good mastery in. Even after you complete this course, I would recommend keep on practicing JavaScript, keep on practicing Cypress. Right, and that is how you will learn. And then we'll move on to Cypress introduction. Then we'll talk about Cypress installation and do a lot of stuff, very advanced stuff as well. And then we'll be talking about how do we interact with different kind of elements, and what is the smart features, how we can actually optimally work with these elements. Then we'll be talking about jQuery in Cypress in depth. You'll not find this topic anywhere on YouTube also, right? Because I'm going to cover from my real-time experience. I have worked with Cypress for almost more than 5 to 6 years now, right? So I think I have the knowledge that I can teach you about Cypress. And then we'll be covering about page object model, very, very important stuff. This is something that is generic. It is not specific to Cypress, but it is there in the entire automation industry. So whatever automation tool that you work with, you should know about page object model. And then somebody was asking me, I think Seema, I don't know, but somebody was asking about API testing with Cypress, right? So we are going to cover in depth about API testing. Then we'll be talking about Cypress Cloud. And then we have something called as continuous integration with Jenkins, CI/CD. This is what somebody was asking. And then,
Yeah, I asked.
yeah, so, and then this is the cream of our, you can say, course, advanced Cypress. I'm going to teach you some very, very advanced stuff with Cypress, right? There are so many scenarios. These are some real-time scenarios that will be actually working in your real-time projects. Nobody teaches about cy.clock and cy.tick. It is very, very important stuff, wherein you can freeze your browser clock. This is something very, very important stuff. And then we can supercharge with Lodash library, which comes with Cypress by default. And then we'll be covering Cypress with Cucumber. Somebody was even asking about Cucumber. Yes, we are going to cover Cypress with Cucumber. And then as a bonus content, I have not yet recorded these videos because this is something that I've recently added. Right. So I'll be recording these videos wherein I'll be talking about some most commonly used JavaScript interview questions. Okay. So this course is going to be amazing actually. This is what I know. I actually planned to cover JavaScript also, but you guys were asking so many questions, but I couldn't cover JavaScript for now. That's completely fine. So we can cover JavaScript maybe tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, please do ask me. I'm really enjoying actually talking to you.
Yeah. So, what are the job opportunities with respect to Cypress? And I'm sure if it is, but yeah, maybe with your experience.
Rami, just speak a little slower. I couldn't hear you. You were very fast. Please
Yeah,
go
yeah.
on.
I was just trying to ask, like, do you maybe do you can you give me some exposure towards the job opportunities with Cypress? Somebody who is experienced, who is learning this tool, new tool as well. What are the opportunities that job market that offers?
Okay. I feel Cyprus has got a lot of job opportunities. Like if you compare, let's say, Selenium with Cyprus. Now, can you see that Selenium is dead actually? No, definitely not. There's still a very good and in fact a very big market for Selenium. Does that mean I should not earn Cypress? Definitely not. I'll be very silly if I'll do that. Why? Because like there's a market for all the tools. There are so many companies out there, right? Some will go with Selenium, some will go with Cypress. Why? Because let's say I've worked with Cypress for almost 5 to 6 years. If given a chance, I'll go with Cypress. Why? Because I know it is very powerful. Of course, Selenium is also good, but I'll go with Cypress. Right. There are some people like who are, let's say, currently working on Playwright. They might go with Playwright. So it all depends upon their personal choice. And it also depends upon the team that they are currently working with. If the team that they are working with, right, they are more comfortable with Cypress and JavaScript, they'll go with the Cypress with JavaScript. So there are so many factors that are there. So as far as opportunities and market is concerned, Ramya, to answer your question, there's a very big market for Cypress.
Okay. Yeah.
At least for
How
the next
much,
5 to 10
like,
years. This is what I
how much
personally feel.
increment we can get in our package after Cypress course?
Uh, please ask your question again, Seema. I didn't get that.
How much increment or how much like in, how much
Which
increment in our salary we can get when we
That's
complete
a
this
very
course?
interesting question. I can be very real and honest, or I can give a very sugar coated answer. Right? If I'll be very open and honest, then answer can be zero. Answer can be 50% also. It totally depends upon you, Seema. If you feel you are worthy enough to get a good package, then you can ask clearly. Suppose if your package is, let's say, 10 lakh rupees, for an
Mm,
example, then you can simply ask 15 also. Why? Because if you feel that you deserve it. But see, it all depends upon your confidence and your self-image. This is completely outside Cypress. This is a little about psychology. This is something that I'm very much interested in. So,
mm,
in the case of automation interviews, right? I'll ask for a package that I feel I'm worthy enough. Some people may say that I am maybe asking more, but I don't care what they are thinking actually. It's all
mm,
about how much I feel I deserve.
mm,
If let's say I deserve 40 lakhs or maybe 50 lakhs, and if I'll ask for 20 lakhs, why? Because my current package is 10 only.
mm,
I don't know. Depends. Companies are ready to pay. If they see you are worth it, you are a worthy candidate who is confident enough, who can
mm,
actually add value to the company, they'll give you anything. This is what my personal choice is. There are some companies who would want to, of course, exploit people. But I feel I'll actually go with that company who's going to value my skills
mm.
and my experience.
And in market now, Cypress peoples are very less. Mostly Selenium with Java people you will be getting easily.
But Selenium with Java is a very saturated market now.
Ah, right. No,
Everybody,
in,
everyone is having
in
Selenium in their resume.
yes.
Do they
So the
really know
company are
Selenium?
ready to pay
I don't think
you
so.
how much you want. Like it's nothing like that. You will not get the amount. If you are
Yes,
asking a good amount with good knowledge, they will give you.
exactly. That is what I wanted to say actually. So for that, all you have to do is just a little bit of hard work for maybe 1 or 2 years. Just a little bit more learning compared to your peers because majority of people are busy watching IPL now. And you guys are actually sitting right in front of me, learning.
Yeah, one
Right.
more question. Do you how about the application that we are using? You have anyway showed that it is application that you have a local hosted application, but do you have any ERP based application where Cypress could be played or like
See, there are
automated?
so many other applications that you can work around, but the problem with other applications is like I could have chosen say Flipkart or I could have chosen say Google or maybe Amazon. But the problem with these applications is like these applications keep on changing actually. So I would rather want to work on an application that is not subject to change, at least for another 1 or 2 years, so that it becomes a consistent learning experience for all the people. Of
Okay.
course, whatever you are guys are learning from this particular course, you can anyway apply on any project, any application, as long as your foundation is clear, your fundamentals are clear. And my responsibility, my job is to actually make your fundamentals very clear. So that doesn't matter what application that you work on, you should be able to do it confidently. Very, very important term is confidence. Unfortunately, not a lot of people talk about this, but the only reason why not a lot of people actually move up in the corporate ladder is because they lack self-confidence. Unfortunately, that is the case. If there's a job that is worth say 30 lakhs, a lot of people will not even apply. Why? They'll feel मैं तो इसके लायक ही नहीं हूँ. I cannot even apply. I'll not even get this 30 lakh package. Why? Because I don't feel good enough. Sorry, but that's the fact.
Yeah. So I have a question. Will you be also giving us an insight of how we can use AI in Cyprus?
That's a good
Okay, if we
question.
talk about AI actually, so the most important thing, especially when it comes to AI, is I'll be talking a lot about ChatGPT, especially. Why? Because this is something that a lot of people should aware. I still ask a lot of people, some very senior people, are you guys using AI in your day-to-day work? Some people say, nah, Piyush, I don't need AI. I'm smart enough. And I don't discuss much with them. Why? Because you cannot teach somebody who is not ready to listen and learn. But AI is
But
something that you all should be aware of.
Copilot
be
is familiar to the Cypress, right?
correct. So Copilot is there actually, right? So it is actually growing a lot of popularity. So if time permits, I will be talking about Copilot as well. But you should be able to understand how you can figure out any kind of automation problem.
Right.
So for that, ChatGPT is the best solution. If you guys don't have an account, please do create an account on ChatGPT. So this is something you can ask any question. Suppose if you're facing any tough challenge, or maybe your lead or manager has given you some very tough scenario to automate. So who's that first person that you should go to? ChatGPT. If you don't have an experience or something. I'm not saying you should blindly copy and follow everything, but it can give you so many ideas. It is like your personal assistant. This is how I treat.
So
And my
one thing,
productivity has actually improved a lot,
So,
especially after using AI.
so but like lot of companies they don't allow you to use like, and also we should learn from the scratch. Then like it's like
How does it matter
separate.
if my company is, let's say, blocking Google or maybe ChatGPT? I have my mobile anyway, right? Nobody can block my mobile internet, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a different topic. Like I want to learn like
No,
from
but nowadays many companies are allowing for the chat GPT and all. Only I think banking sectors are not allowing. I'm not sure.
So it depends upon the company to company. So that's a we are actually might be deviating to another topic altogether. But see, I'll not be just teaching you JavaScript and Cypress. I'll be teaching you the right mindset also. How do you actually start thinking like a successful automation tester, so that eventually you can move to my level, which is automation test architect. You don't just want to move to a junior role for your entire life, right? Because as a junior, you'll not be able to expect large packages. If you really want to move on and expect higher salary, you have to produce more. You have to give more value to the organization. If the company sees you are giving them more value, then they'll start paying you more. It's all about value.
As
And
initially, as a beginner, how much time do you think we need to practice every day to get to a level where we can write independently, Cypress test, like, using JavaScript?
Okay, so is your name Sahna? Am I
Yes,
speaking? Okay,
yes, yes.
so Sahna, that's a very tricky question to be very honest, because it depends on person to person. Some people are fast learners, some people are slow learners. In my case, I was a slow learner. I'll be very open and honest. I was a slow learner. In my case, I used to it took me a lot of time to learn. In your case, if you're a fast learner, maybe even 30 minutes to 45 minutes a day is good enough. But for somebody like me, maybe I can learn the same thing, but maybe in 1.5 amount of hour of time. So it totally depends on person to person actually. But I would say it's not about how many hours you're practicing. It is about whether you're doing it consistently or not. Similar to gymming. It's all about consistency. With consistency, you can beat anybody in job, in life, and everywhere.
Uh, will you provide interview assistant as well?
I'll I'll not be providing any interview assistance to be very honest, but my job is to make you so powerful actually, especially when it comes to Cypress knowledge, that you'll not be requiring any assistance only. Some people ask me, because I actually do a lot of one-on-one coachings also. Some people ask me, Piyush, do you give me interview assistance? Will you provide job support? I usually tell them the same answer that I'm going to tell you right now. You don't need job assistance if all your fundamentals are clear. Why do you need somebody else's job assistance actually? You want to make yourself good enough that you don't need any job assistance. You don't need any job support from somebody. That is how strong you should become in test automation.
yeah, so are we also covering any framework or like as a test architect that you were mentioning? Right? I think the responsibilities are quite different, not just scripting but
Exactly.
also running a framework, right? So
Correct. In my case, I'm actually managing a lot of projects actually. In my day-to-day role actually, I don't code actually, because if
okay,
I'll start coding, how will I start managing?
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Right. So, yeah, with
Yeah, drop the call if you don't mind.
yeah, anybody can drop off. You don't have to ask me or something, right? Why? Because you will be getting these recordings actually. So don't worry about all these things. I would simply suggest. Okay, you guys didn't let me complete the JavaScript part, but let me just complete what I just wanted to cover. Right. So as of now, we have just scratched the surface of what Cypress can do, and you might have started to observe how powerful and intuitive Cypress is for automation testing. And this is just the beginning, just the tip of the iceberg, guys. I know many of you might be feeling automation is tough. Automation might be hard. Can I really do? Right. You guys must be having this question, because at least in my case, I was definitely having this question. Right. I was exactly in your place 2 years back. I started as a manual tester with no structured guidance, but with the right approach and hands-on practice, I made that transition. And I'm going to teach you in a very well structured way so that you don't have to go anywhere else. Right. And in this full course, we'll go deeper. We are going to cover real world scenarios. We'll be writing efficient test scripts. We'll be learning how to debug the failures and simultaneously mastering Cypress step by step. Plus, you'll get some interactive assignments, industry insights, and my personal guidance throughout. Right. So if you're serious about becoming an expert in automation testing with Cypress, Cypress is just the start. Right. It can open the doors to other automation tools as well if your foundation is clear. And that is what I'm going to cover. So this is a chance. I
Okay,
would
one
suggest, yeah.
question, please. Yeah, so actually, I know Python. I've recently learned Python programming as
Mhm.
part of the data science. So,
Mhm.
how much of those skills will be helpful in like in undergoing this program? I mean, based on experience.
Okay, so see,
Around-
any programming language, right, is of course pretty good. Why? Because if you have some basic programming skills, basic programming knowledge, it of course helps because that is how you're programming. Even though you're learning Python, which is completely different from JavaScript, you are still building your you can say programming muscle. Even though you're learning a totally different language, because you are starting to think actually how to code in a better way, and the same principles you can apply with JavaScript. Okay, so somebody who's not having any experience with programming, right, is actually you're far better than those people, especially even though if you're learning Python also. No language is bad actually. Why? Because you are starting to learn how to write better code.
Right. Okay.
Yes, I'm so really liking this particular group. In my previous batch, those guys are very quiet actually. I have to continuously ask them, please ask me questions, please ask me questions. But you guys are like completely different. You guys are asking a lot of questions, and I'm really enjoying it actually. So this is how the interactivity should be like. You guys should trust me that I'm there to guide you and support you, and this is what my responsibility is. So I would strongly recommend whosoever you are in touch with from Isha Institute, please speak to them, please ask them, right? In case if you have any questions, any doubts, any questions, right? Go through this Cypress course content actually. It will give you a lot of idea what exactly are we going to cover. And if you're going to practice each and everything what I'm teaching, then you'll be in a very, very solid position. And you can move on to any other automation tools also if required, maybe in the future. Because Cypress is, sorry, not Cypress, I'm saying JavaScript is the foundation. You can learn WebDriver IO. You can learn even Playwright also later on. Playwright is little tough actually, if compared to Cypress. So for beginners, I would strongly recommend start with Cypress.
And you were
Okay.
mentioning about the Playwright, right? The Playwright, are you also on Playwright too? Have you?
Yes, I do teach Playwright, but as of now, I'm teaching Playwright in a one-on-one courses actually.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Okay.
one of like we should register with you or with
Sorry,
the
Shiva.
client.
Somehow your voice is I'm barely able to hear. What you can do is like if you have more questions, you can ping me on WhatsApp. You can ping on that WhatsApp group. You can ping me in person if required. You can ask me questions, but somehow your mic is not proper. Something your voice is not at all clear to me.
So I think when you say one-on-one, I would want to repeat the question. So when you say one-on-one session, how does that work? Like, is it some association with the same Isha or
Okay, if you're asking that, so I'm in this Cypress batch. When I'm giving like a batch course, I'm associated with Isha, but I'm also giving one-on-one. That is completely personal, but I'm very expensive in that case.
So how do we contact you?
You can contact me in that WhatsApp group. So that WhatsApp group is there. You can ask me questions. The same WhatsApp group wherein you got this meeting invite from.
Okay, but I'm not able to identify which is your number in that.
Okay, you're not able to identify. Okay, what I'll do is like after this class, I'll ping a hi actually. Right, there are I think one or two WhatsApp groups. Right, so you can ask me any questions, any doubts. Isha Institute is very very helpful. They can help you in clearing any doubt, any clarifications that you have. Right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, right. So if you are still wondering, I would suggest uh, maybe you can join tomorrow's demo class also because we'll be covering 2 or 3 demo classes. But I think one demo class is enough in order for you to take a decision. Just get started, guys.
Okay. When is the real class start?
For me, this is a real training only. Do you feel like today's training is actually a demo? But do you feel like I'm not teaching you something that is worthwhile, right? For me, it is a regular training. For you, it is demo. For me, it is training.
Okay. And one
Right.
more, for the play, like what I'm looking in this training is like tool is easy, right? But like the cracking the interview is
Sorry,
much
Shiba,
more.
I'm barely able to hear you.
Oh, maybe I'll talk to you. I don't know what is wrong. Like I need to set up down. So
I don't know, but there's an issue with your mic. Maybe you can speak to me in person, or you can drop me a WhatsApp. Whatever is comfortable for you.
okay then.
Okay. Any more questions, guys? No? So I would highly recommend please get in touch with someone from Isha Institute, whoever you are speaking with. They'll be happy to answer your questions. And get yourself registered and we'll get started. And I promise you by the end of this course, you'll be very confident with Cypress. That is what my goal is. Okay. So tomorrow we'll be meeting at the same time. I'm not sure if the link is going to be the same, but just stay in touch in that WhatsApp group. You will get the link for tomorrow as well. And then we'll get started. Right, guys?
Sure.
Okay. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Piyush.
Okay.